Well, let's talk to Stuart now, who's here, just back, Stuart, from yesterday only.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, great to have you with us, and it's an extraordinary report, which we've played already, and obviously everyone can find it online if they haven't watched it yet. I guess the first question I have from this is the extent to which Port-au-Prince is about to fall. Is it inevitable? It's not. I mean, the map we showed made it look like, in terms of territory, it almost already has.
Yeah, about 90%. I mean, there's always discussion about how much is actually controlled or otherwise, but 90% about is in the hands of the gangs. There's a UN mission there that's run by the Kenyan military, but with other countries involved as well, and the police, the Haitian police. They're working together, and they are able, and in the last week or so, done quite well at controlling the gangs. But in the previous months, they've done really badly. I'd have said 3 or 4 weeks ago, there was a 70 to 80% chance that Port-au-Prince would entirely fall to the gangs. It's still probably 60, maybe even higher, but the Kenyans are getting more support from the United States, and they believe they can take the fight to the gangs and be more successful in the coming months. We'll just have to wait to see how they do. But it is a really terrible, dire situation right now.
What makes this really fantastic eyewitness journalism, Stuart, is the people that you spoke to. There's a sense that there isn't any optimism for the future. We saw that woman who gave birth in the makeshift tents.
Yeah.
What was your sense of talking to them?
It's very sad. And what's really interesting is as it's contracted, if you like, where the free areas of the city, it's now absolutely full of people. As you saw in the camps, tens and thousands of people are living in really poor conditions. Some of them in government ministries, which the governments have left. Which, if you think about it, interestingly, the governments won't even hold their own places and have withdrawn, and the people are now huddling together, hoping that it's safe because they're together. Conditions are bad. Cholera is terrible. Attacks on women, sexual attacks on women, is going through the roof because everyone's living together. So it's a very dangerous place for those people who have survived being kicked out of their homes by the gangs and can't go back to the territory that they called home. Now, some people still live in the gang areas, but by definition, you're sort of under the influence of the gangs. For some, it's better than actually being outside. But those who are at least happy to be free are increasingly squashed into these small districts.
I know there's more to come. I don't want to get ahead of the curve, but this first instalment is focusing on the capital. What's it like around the rest of the country?
Never forget that Haiti is one of the poorest countries in the world, so it's grim wherever you go. And many people now in Cap Haitien, which is the next big town outside of Port-au-Prince, is full of people that have left the capital. Now, people can't leave the capital because the gangs control all the areas around it. We got to Port-au-Prince by helicopter, for example. You can't drive there, you'll get caught by the gangs. So the influence of the gangs in those areas is not like Port-au-Prince, but it's still pretty bad. But the whole country is desperately poor, and when the capital city is in such a mess, and everything goes through the capital city, and the gangs can control everything that comes in and out of the city. Therefore, there's no proper economy anymore. It really is a failed or failing country, and the rest of the international community is sort of watching on and not doing an awful lot to help it. As I say, the Kenyans are leading the fight, as it were, against the gangs, but their full numbers have never been reached. It was meant to be 2,500 soldiers. They're not even at 1,000. They aren't getting the weapons, though America said it's going to improve the supply of weapons and money. But, you know, they are literally holding on. They're not winning at all.
What update can you give us from Barbecue, this gang leader that you spoke to previously?
Yeah, so Jimmy Chirize is his name. Barbecue, he's known as. He is the most powerful of the gang leaders. But, I mean, there are lots and lots of gangs in Port-au-Prince alone. He really is trying to now make himself appear more of a political leader and wants to see the overthrow of the government, and him perhaps be in the presidential palace or the Prime Minister's office himself. But he and the other gangs have now been designated as terrorist groups by the United States. And that really does change a lot, because it means that the Kenyans, if they carry out attacks against gangs, can use lethal force. They don't actually have to have any other reason they can attack because they're now terrorists. That has definitely had an effect on barbecue and the other gangs, because they know they could be hit at any time.
So you mentioned the Kenyan forces there. They're at the behest of the UN.
It's a UN mandate.
And so what is the level of international support? And which countries are stepping up, if at all?
United States pretty much bankrolls it, to be fair.
The UN mission?
The UN mission. Canada as well. Kenya is providing the forces, and other Caribbean nations have got some, like Jamaica, for example. The second man in charge of the mission is from Jamaica, for example, and other countries are there. But it's not on the sort of level that it really needs. If you were to take on and beat these gangs, I mean, the membership runs into thousands and thousands. Wow. They need to... The big thing that Kenyans explain to us is you have to stop the supply of weapons. And those weapons pretty much come from the United States on the black market. And again, this is important when it comes to the terrorist designation, because selling guns to criminal gangs is one thing. Sending it to terrorist organisations is a completely different thing, and the United States will take that position on themselves for the suppliers. But if they can stop the weapons coming from the United States, things would get better very, very quickly.
What? Maybe this is too complicated an answer, but what does the United States and/or the international community want to come out of this? Because, I mean, there isn't really a government at the moment, is there?
No, I mean, there is a transitional government, but it's a bit chaotic. It has a president running, but he's one of 9 presidents. So you can imagine that doesn't help for good governance. I think the United States, we understand that the United States had meetings with the Kenyans last week, or I know they did. And we get the sense from them that America said, you've got to sort this out, get it done. What do you need? And I think that the Kenyan military have told them exactly what they need. That includes drones, which they're getting, and they've already got some. As I say, more money and more soldiers. Some of those soldiers, well, there won't be United States troops, but who those soldiers are have yet to be agreed. But it all costs money, and the United States can pay for it.
More to come tomorrow as well?
Yeah, we were out with the Kenyans in a night mission in Port-au-Prince, and it's worth looking at because you can see how difficult their job is.
I'm sure it is. Stuart, thanks so much for coming on to share all of this with us and for the extraordinary reporting. Scan the QR code there on the screen now to watch the first instalment of Stuart's reports there from Haiti.